Bessie, they end up with the words, well, it's different, but it's good. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you at the first summit of the World EX here at the racetrack BILSTER BERG, together with the 24-hour race of the slot car series RCCO. And I'm really, really happy to have someone beside me who's also very close into the stuff. I would like to welcome you, Louisa Skotke.
Yeah, hello, thank you, Martin. Hello from my side. Usually virtual, today live here at BILSTER BERG. I'm very, very excited and proud to be hosting for you the 24-hour race, slot car race, which already exists 30 years in the history of the RCCO books. And it's going to be a milestone which we celebrate today. And I'm very excited.
I would say, of course, due to the fact that after the long period of non-racing, we're going to continue now with real racing once again on the really, really long track on the RCCO. But it's much more interesting that we have these first time World EX Summit. And I would say, well, he is in a double way a founder of the RCCO, and he's also the co-founder of the World EX. And I'm really happy to welcome you, first of all, with a keynote speech from Mr. Thomas Voigt. Thomas, please come to the sofa.
Thank you very much, Martin and Louisa. Welcome everybody here at wonderful BILSTER BERG, but also welcome everybody out there all around the world. It's the first time we are doing this World EX Summit, a completely new event, and a new event. A lot of unexpected things can happen. We had some busy days preparing this, but I'm very, very proud to have so many cool people here at BILSTER BERG on the stage, but also all around the world. And we have a colleague in Seoul from Porsche, we have a colleague in holidays at the moment from Audi Sport, and hopefully everything is working. This morning, suddenly, there were some problems with Microsoft Teams, for example, that are the things which always can happen when you do something live. And also, after 2.5 years, we are returning to slot car racing here with the 24-hour race, so the track was somewhere buried for 2.5 years and was rebuilt, let's say, and taken out of the container to have this race. And yesterday, in the beginning, there were some problems, as usual, but in the end, free practice, qualifying, everything happened, everything worked fine. So, welcome again. World EX, it's something relatively new. We created this 2 years ago, this company, together with Mike Rockenfeller, who unfortunately cannot be here today because he got a late call from NASCAR to do his first NASCAR race next week. He was testing 2 days ago, and if everything works fine, we will have him later today, also remotely from the US. So he was very unhappy not being here at this event because he really liked very much the idea, to bring cool people together at BILSTER BERG around electric racing, esports racing, clean energy, and the digitalization. So I have prepared, here you see Mike, that's 2 years ago when we presented World EX in Berlin on the IFA. That's where more or less the whole project went public. But the RCCO is older. This picture is from 1991, so it's 31 years ago. You see me here in the back. Unfortunately, I'm very small. You can't see my glasses and my hair and whatever. That was the style of 91. And this was the editorial room of the Rally Racing magazine, a specialized magazine in Germany. So a lot of interesting people here, journalists who covered the German or the international motorsport scene. Also, in the middle of the picture, this guy, it was called Paul Hoon. He was one of a very high member in this Axel Springer Verlag in Germany, and he heard about we do slot car racing, and he came to us and directly from his job in the evenings and had fun. And the whole thing started because when I was a journalist, I was on the Essen Motor Show as a rally racing journalist, and the ABD, they had a small Carrera track on the motor show. And I had good connections to some guys called Michael Schumacher, Heinz-Harald Frentzen, and Karl Wendlinger. They were on the edge to becoming Formula One drivers. And they asked me, could you bring them to us that they can drive there with a Carrera? I did it. A lot of spectators, a lot of people. And then, afterwards, I got a small present from the AVD. It was a box of Carrera exclusive And I had a very small flat, and I said, I cannot put it at home. So I put it in the editorial office, and that's how the Rally Racing Carrera Cup, how it was called in those days, was started. And we created the Rally Racing Carrera Cup organization already then. This is RCCO, which nowadays is Racing Concept Cars Organization. So that's a bit the history, starting on a floor of an editorial room, and then it became more and more professional. Yeah, that's where we are now, 31 years later. I will talk a little bit about this, what's happened in between, or what our ideas. That is the World DX cars, and yeah, prepared for a little bit in the metaverse and everything what is on our agenda. And what I said, our DNA is really from slot car racing. The slot car series became more and more professional. We started in the editorial rooms, but then we were going to dealerships to bring people, and always we did it to bring people together, to have networking and connect people, which we had always the car industry supporting it, and very, very good people with that once a month a race with the slot cars. And yeah, that's, let's say, where our DNA is coming from. And what we have here this weekend, the RCCO 24, I call it maybe the world's most crazy race, probably, because one guy in our editorial office already in 91 had the idea, hey, let's do a 24-hour race. We found a track where we could do it, and since then, almost every year we have been doing this. It's the 28th running this weekend of this race, which will start at 12 o'clock. And in between the keynotes and interviews, we will show you, what's happening there on the slot car tracks. There's some famous drivers, as you can see here. Frank Bieler, 5-time Le Mans winner. He's also a 5-time winner of this race, together with me, but we just looked in the list. It is a couple of years ago when we had the last win. You see Mike Rockenfeller here, Kim Hauschild, the next guy there is one of the best drivers at the moment in the Porsche Carrera Cup. You see people from the industry, journalists. So this was in the Autostadt in Wolfsburg, also a very, very cool location. And and we were always looking about innovation because we had cool people in our group, like Dr. Wolfgang Warnecke, who is with us. He was always saying, hey, what can we do in a small size to showcase what the big auto industry, the automobile industry is doing? So what we did for almost 30 years or 25 years, what everybody was doing in slot car racing and model racing. We built models from real race cars. So we had suddenly WRC cars racing against DTM cars, GT3 cars, Group C cars. The problem with slot cars, the dimensions of the car are responsible for the performance in the end. So we had to have a balance of performance, like we know it from real motorsport, but in the end, like in real motorsport, we had always discussions. And then the idea came up, let's make a formula where we have different looking cars, concept cars, but where the performance factors are the same. And we had one guy who's also here this weekend from Volkswagen Motorsport, a designer, Helmut Schmidt. He created the basic design for we called it Vision RCCO slot cars, and in the end also for the EX slot cars. And that's how it started. We had six manufacturers. We had up to KTM, Lamborghini, we had a car from Audi, the Audi e-tron Vision Gran Turismo, Volkswagen. You see here a designer from Volkswagen creating a car for our regulations, for our Vision RCO or later EX regulations. And we had really, really cool car. We called it Vision RCCO, driving the future, because we said all these cars have to be concept cars, electric concept cars, which could be available on the market in the coming years. It was in 2016. That's how, let's say, World DX started. And here you see all the cars we realized for slot car racing and went to 24 scale. On the left side in the rear from up, then the Audi Vision Gran Turismo. We went together with Audi, so we took the car from the PlayStation more or less into slot car racing. There was a car from Scheffler, then the Lamborghini, the KTM. The Porsche never raced because we never finally agreed to have this car in a slot car, and then COVID arrived. So this car was never on the track so far. And on the right side, the Volkswagen, and in the front, the EX0. Our car in the World DX Championship, which this weekend is racing for the first time in the slot car race. So we always try to bring real and virtual world together. And our main project really since 2 years is the World DX Championship. You see here a scene from a race in Daytona, from the night race. We have 9 permanent teams at the moment with very cool drivers. We bring together drivers from real racing and esports racing. It's a world championship, 1 race a month. It's the rhythm we also had in slot car racing always, which was always good, 1 race per month. Here you see that's more or less the dimensions you have for those cars. They're fitting very well to, let's say, quite attractive sports cars. I think even the Audi e-tron Grand Prix GT would more or less fit into this. And yeah, that's the idea about the EX concept cars, which came, let's say, from one of the cars which we created for slot car racing together with Abt Sportsline, the Abt Vision RCCO, which was designed in 2016, and this was a base for the EX0. And on board came Studio 397, Marcel Offermans, who will be with us also today, talking about future of simulations. They said, that's a very nice idea. We create something together. They took our car. They had some different ideas because then really the physics and aerodynamics for simulations came in, which of course, aerodynamics has no importance in slot car racing. And then in the end, we find a compromise because we didn't want, let's say, an LMP1 car or something. We wanted a car more, looking like a road car. So in between a road car and an LMP1 car. And after a lot of calls and discussions, we finally came to the final version of our EX0, we call it. Zero, of course, for zero emissions with electric drivetrain. And yeah, that's the car we are racing in the World EX Championship since 2 years and now also in slot car racing. We will also have a car here in 1:5 scale, a radio-controlled car built by one of the engineers from the Abt Formula E team. He was the engineer of Lucas Di Grassi. He's doing that kind of esports racing or electric racing, so a lot of people who have cool hobbies, let's say. And what we always wanted to create is a car which is fun to drive, but also difficult to drive. And that we went for 1,000 horsepower and 1,000 kilogram. I think it was one German race driver, Uwe Alzen, who once said that's the best power to weight ratio. Then it's really fun to drive. And everybody who was driving so far that car said, it's a challenge, and you're not immediately fast with that car. Romain Grosjean, for example, was involved in the development of this car together with Mike Rockenfeller. And in the beginning, it was almost impossible to drive. But now I think the car we are racing since last season in World EX is quite fun and good to drive. Here you see Romain Grosjean, one of our team principals and drivers, very much involved in the development. And what also was important for us that we wanted to create, it is a fantasy car, of course, but we wanted to have real-world technology. The car we designed in CAD has everything which you could build it like this. So everything, the power to weight, every detail, the engines, the battery size, the weight of this could be real. We worked a lot with Scheffler in those days in the beginnings, with Abt Sportsline, with all their technology and the know-how they have from electric racing. So this car could be built, and we have this car like this in Unreal Engine. It will be in different racing games maybe in the future as well. We have the colleagues from Rennsport here. They're working on it to put it in. They're working with their simulation and Unreal Engine. So important for us not have a complete fantasy car. It's the style is fantasy, but it could be built in real. And what we said, the world is changing. We have to look after the climate. That's also one reason why we are sitting here together today, because we are all in one boat. We want to continue to have some kind of motor racing in the futures, some kind of cool stuff on the racetracks. But for sure, everybody also in motor racing has to adapt. And what we wanted to do is help a little bit make this aware the people and show that electric cars or zero emission cars, it could be also hybrid cars in the end, or maybe even with e-fuel, but let's say car with a different drivetrain can also be fun. So even an electric race car can really be fun, and people start talking about this. So as we said, we do it racing for the climate. And in the beginning, a lot of people hated us completely, say, now you come also with this bloody electric cars into esports racing. But then we started these discussions, and then a lot of people also have said, no, but it's good that you are doing that. And then we created this racing for the climate, and we had a jackpot with every lap last year in the first season. Went into a jackpot. We had a quite good prize money in the end, and the winning team, or the driver, which was from Williams, the Formula One team, they could decide to which climate project this money would be devoted. And in the end, they choose one project that's very close to them in the factory. It's a little river running to the factory, which is very rare, the kind it is, and they benefited from what our drivers in World EX did on the racetrack, which we changed it little bit for this year. this year, every team has to be connected to one climate protection project. As you see here, the team from Germany, BS Plus competition, they're running cars in zebra liveries, and it was quite obvious they go for something where the zebras are living. You see here the Forest Conservation Kenya. That's what they are supporting. And of course, we are talking about this in our broadcasts, that the logos are on the cars, so people start realizing there is this project. And you see here the project. Yeah, okay, now it's one slide later. And we do this also with the help from famous drivers, famous team principals like here Tom Christenden, who came into our championship right at the beginning. Just a couple of weeks of preparation. He had a good choice. He took one of the best drivers, Lasse Sørensen, who should have been here today. Unfortunately, he was hit by COVID 2 days ago. But he went on to win most of the races last year and almost won the Drivers' World Championship. In the end, he was beaten in the final race, but still the team of Tom won the Team's World Championship. But of course, people involving people like Tom Christensen, Romain Grosjean, WRT team, Frank Bieler, and so that helps to create awareness for our Racing for the Climate. Here you see the team principles of the teams we have at the moment. So most of them, or all of them, are really famous from real racing. That's where we went for. So that's very cool. Sometimes they race themselves, they're involved in our broadcasts, so that creates awareness. These are the teams we have, so very cool. They have long-term contracts with us to take part in our championship, because we wanted to have a nice mix from real-world teams like Williams, and WRT, but also good to esport racing teams. And we always wanted to have teams who understand the idea of racing for the climate and promote this whole thing. Here you see that are the climate protection projects. They are supporting at the moment in the season, so a really interesting mixture. Some are going for local things like our Danish team, for example, Klimaradet. So those are supported by the teams. What also is specific for our championship, we want to have real racers competing with esports racers, and we have since this year we have two categories, but racing in one race. And our race format will always ensure that a real racer and an esport racer is in the final, because we have a very unique race format with some head-to-head racing, some very short races. You see it here. We have a qualifying, and then you go in very short races with quarterfinals. You have a semi-final then. And then in the end, the best of the two categories, let's say the best pro racing driver and the best esports racing driver, they go head-to-head for a two-lap shootout, which always...
Jerry Toman is leading Lasse Sørensen, getting a bit wayward now. Who is it going to be that's going to cross him first? It's got it, Lasse. And he takes it. It's a brilliant race.
He's like, that was okay, not too bad.
Yeah, that was fun.
Look at this. That was amazing.
You can see, you can see it's important for us to show the characters. This was a final from one of the last races in Le Mans. One driver who was winning, Jerry Toman from Czechoslovakia, he's like an iceman, like Kimi Räikkönen, not showing any emotions. The other one, Lasse Sørensen, he's always showing emotions. So, and the final race in the championship decision is on the Nordschleife. And only the drivers who have made it to one of the finals in the 10 races, they are qualified for the super final in the Nordschleife, because we wanted to have the decision like in a soccer World Cup and a football World Cup in the very last race. The starting grid is the championship standing, so the driver who has been best during the season starts from pole, and we have a lot of cool slipstreaming there on the Nordschleife, which is an important factor in our car. That's our schedule where we are at the moment. We have 10 races. Next one is in Sepang. We tried to have a real world championship, being very international. Of course, we have also to rely on the tracks which are available on R Factor 2, where our championship is at the moment. And we have always the shootout for the race win is, you can always, or a lot of times, see it like this. Sometimes you have a crash in the first corner, but it happens very seldom. So we have a lot of times very, very close finishes. And important for us, show the emotions of the drivers, where we invested a lot to, they're sitting all around the world, and to have them all in the stream and showing them all things. They can even talk among each other while racing. It's really some special thing of our World DX Championship. They're here again talking about the climate protection. We had last year Nikki Shields, we know maybe from Formula E, doing the presentations. This year you saw them, Martin Kumaro and Luisa are there from our own stuff. They're grown, we have been growing within slot car racing. They are presenting our show. Of course, we promote clean energy, what we said before, the transition of the whole thing in the world where we are at the moment. We have created a world around it. We have a weekly newsletter where we not only talk about the racing, but we talk about innovation. What is happening in the world? What is new technology? Who has good ideas? What new cars are coming? Which ideas do people have to help in the end the climate or the innovation? And we had very, very good figures in the first season. We invested a lot, and we were similar, let's say, also to what Le Mans was doing with virtual racing. And so you can reach a lot of people with esports racing. But I think in a lot of presentations later today, also Serkan, I see you here in the audience from Volkswagen. You have some nice slides also about that, what you really can reach with esports. It's really very interesting. Also, digital ownership is something that are all the cars we have created together with our teams virtually for World DX. So a lot of different liveries, and every car is existing in the digital world only once. And we have some ideas for the future to create something out of that. And of course, it's the buzzword, metaverse. Everybody's looking, what can we do? We as well. And we start at the moment to create our own world. We bring it in the broadcasts, but our idea for the future is that you can go into our space, in our team spaces. You have presentations of manufacturers, of partners. You can meet the drivers. That's our, let's say, long-term vision, how we would like to use the metaverse. But of course, it's a lot of effort to do it, and we need partners for that. But we have good ideas, I think, and we have started to create something nice. That's our, let's say, our little world we are building, coming, as I said before, from slot car racing. We have the World DX Championship. We have the Summit here now for the first time. And we have also the World DX BIS, which is a little bit what we did in slot car racing, bringing together people from the business, from the motorsport and the automotive business. And we make the same, let's say, like in World DX, a little bit more easy. The car has less power, 800 horsepower. We meet once a week for having fun together and driving. We talk via Zoom, and then once a month we have a race with points, and in the end we have a champion. And yeah, that's also some fun. It's growing. We have let's say 15, 20 people doing the racing sometimes, and some very good people from the motorsport and automotive industry. And yeah, that's the schedule. And the next season is starting in September 6th, and then it's more or less a race per month. And anybody interested working in this industry, welcome, contact us. You maybe can just take part or have a test race or whatever. We're a funny group and growing group. And yeah, as I said before, slot car racing is back where we come from, the 24-hour race, which will start in 1.5 hours. And yeah, that's also part of our little world we are creating here. And networking, you can see, that's a long time ago. These two guys, Matthias Ekström, he came in, we did a race in Essen at the motor show, Grand Prix Essen, for a couple of years. And he came in and he beat all the slot car racers immediately for 2 times in a row. And Sebastian Vettel also came in. He was driving for my team there for slot car. And he was a young, just on the edge to Formula One. And he was very fast, but he took the car from my team and he modified it completely. And in the end, it was not legal, but he finished 2nd or 3rd. So, but we didn't disqualify him. So, because we always want to have also some fun in everything what we are doing. And as I said before, looking for cool events and venues, which of course in the last 2 years was not possible due to COVID. But I'm really glad we can be here now for BILSTER BERG for our first real world event after all these virtual things. So that's our little world, our metaverse, and thanks for your attention. And the next on stage is a good friend. I think it's Dr. Wolfgang Warnecke. So yeah, thank you very much. And maybe Martin, you take over for a couple of seconds. Yeah.
Thomas, before you leave, just a short question. You very often use the word emotions and fun. When was the point where you found your emotion and your fun in electronic racing?
In electric racing?
Yeah, in electric racing.
Yeah. I found it when we got involved. You know, I'm working in the motorsport business in the real world, mainly for Audi since the '86, since over 30 years from the World Rally Championship in the beginning, then the Le Mans project, DTM, everything we covered. And then, of course, together with Abt and Audi, they went into Formula E. And I was skeptic in the beginning, but going there and seeing the first races, I really liked it very much. The event is completed. It's something completely different. We see here the picture of a Formula E car, well prepared, Wolfgang. It's a completely different event, and also different people coming there to those races. And it's quite, you can have discussions like this without the noise, and completely different. And I really get addicted to it. And of course, doing slot car racing for such a long time, also electric, this is somehow fitted together. And I'm driving an electric car now myself. I like it very much. I like the acceleration. I like that it's quiet. I was always a fan of loud, noisy cars, like an RS model or so. But I also I was able to test the RS e-tron GT for a couple of days, some weeks ago, and it's just a crazy car. It's just a fantastic car. And we are still very early in the development of all those cars. And as I said before in the presentation, it must not be 100. Maybe electric is not the only way. There can be different ways. Just what we all have to do, and I think Wolfgang will speak about this now very soon. We have to reduce the carbon footprint we do and what we leave behind it. And you know, it's very hot here. It's nice, but if we see our lakes in Germany, the rivers, that's not so nice. So it's really something we have to work on. Yeah. So and it's coming together. I like electric cars very much. Electric racing also. I like still also normal racing, and I like driving them and also doing something for the future, for a better future.
At that time when you invented me into the e-sport racing at the World EX, first of all, I thought, well, okay, it's just on the screen. It's just virtual. It's really not existing. It is existing, but it's not existing. And the funny thing is, I really can follow 101% the words you just said before, because after a while, you feel so emotional with the bloody screen where you're looking on, and you feel absolutely perfect, and just what you know, and probably also other people know. I'm also coming from the real motorsport, like rallycross and everything, and rally, and it's amazing, absolutely.
Yeah. Also, when we are sitting in a little studio, it's in Hamburg in Speedpool, when we do the live productions, everybody's sitting there. They're shouting for the drivers. Yeah? They have already some favorites. Yeah? We cannot say who's favoring which driver, but they're sitting there. Yeah, go Lasse, go Roman. It's like in the real world. So, but now we are already 6 minutes over, but we started a bit late. So yeah, and we wanted to have a casual day. Some things maybe will not work well today, but yeah, I think next one is Wolfgang. Yeah, I'll make space for him. Yeah?
Yes, of course.
Thank you very much, Martin. Yeah, for him.
You're welcome. Yeah. Thank you, Thomas Voigt, the founder of the RCCO and the co-founder of the World EX.